This video was supposed to be made yesterday, but then I started making a menu in GameMaker, and hello, missed me? No? Well, you will start missing my absence then. What have I been up to since the last video, which was almost 2 months ago? Jesus. They say you're either a great content creator or a great game developer. I would know, cause I am neither. That's why I've been fucking around to kickstart a new project. I'm going to spoil that one is currently on the back burner while the other is my main focus. First, let's talk about Mr. Backburner. This one came from my knee-jerk reaction to just make something completely not like Iridescent. No combat, no linearity, barely any dialogue. And the first thing that came to mind was Yume. I can imagine most people that are into game devs have just facepalmed themselves. You throw a dart into a crowd of these people and whoever is hit will scream how their game was inspired by Yume and that the dart really hurt. I do wonder how many of these people actually played Yume though, because one of the most glaring flaws of that game is that it's ass to play. You just walk around and wait for random shit to happen. Most people play with a guide, or after watching 100 hours of people talking about the game and spoiling everything. Hence I came with a thought experiment of, what if Yume was fun to play? I wanted to make the effects have more gameplay impact while also adding basic platforming. I also wanted to do this pseudo 3D in GameMaker, and I did make it work, but I realized quickly that making any interconnected world with this is quickly going to spiral out of control. Doubly so because I also created this system where new rooms would seamlessly load in, giving the illusion of one big world without transitions. I got back to the drawing board and realized something. Why pseudo 3D? Why not fully 3D? So, a few weeks, a new engine, and me learning the hard way that I need to specify that I'm using Godot 4 and not 3, and voila! Honestly, I wasn't even sure if I would do much of anything in Godot until I managed to recreate the room switch system with seamlessly changing rooms. Making a menu is so much easier in Godot than in GameMaker. I could just drag and drop what I want in comparison to... And then I went overboard and started doing some random mechanics and maths and stuff, and I realized I need to slow the fuck down. I was already adding combat even though that was specifically a won't have. That's why I put the project on the back burner. I want to make it a stealth platformer in a fully interconnected world. Something like the interconnected world of Bluefire, but with the freedom of exploration of Yume. That's why I need to make more plans and draw out the map. I'm slowly working through drawing the map and planning all the set pieces out. But till then, back burner. Now I'm still sitting on the perfectly working top-down controller in GameMaker though. What to do with it? Well, why not that quirky RPG I was planning? I shit you not, the whole idea of what if game but good I was doing with the Yume knockoff actually allowed me to get past my design block I had with Plastic Noodles. The idea of Plastic Noodles 2 was that you had many endings, one for each letter of the alphabet, meaning that each run of the game would take less than an hour, sometimes less than 10 minutes even. But how do you make a turn-based RPG fun where your build gets fully reset every hour? Even if you can get past the resets, how can I make going through the same areas fun when you already solved the fight? Studying the RPGs I liked, I realized how insanely quickly they go through content. New enemies are introduced constantly to change your playstyles and build. I could simply make each ending have a different path, but that's just making 30 different paths starting from the same point. The goal is to have the endings work off time loop logic, where you knowing what to do in what order is needed to get different results. But it also means doing some of the same content many times over. I'm not saying that it's not possible to pull this off. There's probably some roguelike somewhere on Steam that proves that much. I'm saying I lack the talent to do this in a satisfying manner. Hence, my solution. Yeah, minigames. To keep scope small, I just want to keep it to parrying, dodging, and one more, but that's a story spoiler, so another time maybe. With this, I can have more freedom in the builds, as you can theoretically beat most of the game with just a basic attack, while also making repeats less monotonous by adding a skill check. Lord knows I love going back to games I mastered just to stall on everything the game can throw at me, and this is that feeling built into a single playthrough. And yes, I know you see similarities here, and yes, I am aware that this isn't all inspired. Hell, the literal project name of this thing is called Expedition Deltarune. You don't need to rub it in. My own flavor is adding a lot more RPG bullshit, and not just relying on skill checks like my inspirations. You are limited to 6 moves per character. 2 are tied to specific weapons, so I know you will have at least 1 offensive skill to finish fights, and the other 4 are whatever. Not every character can equip every weapon, but every character can equip every skill. They are subject to scaling, so don't think you can just put a physical spell on your healer and have them put out good damage. Different routes will give access to different skills and weapons, and doing endings will unlock meta progression, where you can have skills that you can purchase in any route. Of course, your resources are also determined by the route, so it could be that one ending allows you to only buy 1 skill and the other allows you to have a fully decked out party. Of course, party members are also locked to different routes. I wanted to go over more of the mechanics, but you know what?
But where's the theater in that?
I am going to keep them to myself, for now, so I have something to talk about in the other videos. Anyways, this is my project that I'm focusing on. I don't know exactly how long it will take, but I want to have the vast majority of it finished by the end of the year. That's the soft deadline for now. I think making such an aggressive deadline last time wasn't healthy for the game or for me, so that's why I'm walking that back and trying to be a bit healthier about it. I am in full content cutting mode to not overscope things. That's why stuff like meter for super moves, characters sharing weapons and more are all on the cutting room floor. This game should be around 8 hours for a full 100% playthrough. There should be very little in terms of extras. The tone is also meant to be a lot more lighthearted and funny. I'm trying to make this a comedy game, in both gameplay and story. Of course, there will be the serious moments for closure and or resolutions, but those will be the minority. This also helps with some of the endings being easier to make. Like one of the endings is just for dying, you die and get that ending. Another one is for being AFK and then the game claims something happened while it didn't. There will be joke endings, joke skills, jokes fights, and joke more. The animations and art style are also made with the idea of things not taking too long while looking halfway decent. Funny enough, people say it looks better, and all I did was put less effort in. I stopped caring about the line connectivity and things being on model all the time, and just did what makes it look more dynamic, while also looking okay enough. For the portraits, I actually started drawing them on paper first. In Iridescent, I often came to the roadblock that drawing things on paper first made me draw too many details which couldn't be implemented, or worse, had to be animated. But for portraits that don't need to move, I can simply upload the image into GameMaker, draw a thick black line over what I drew, scale the image down, and then add a few finishing touches. I do need to mess with the images sometimes. If you wonder why the big portrait doesn't cover one eye, but the small one does, yeah, it's because of the lack of space in the smaller sprite. This is meant to be a shorter project. Shorter in relative terms. I did say I want to work on it for at least 3 months, but compared to Iridescent's 4 years, it's short. I'm still not sure if I should do weekly or monthly videos. If I achieve the rate of content creation I would like, then weekly videos should be doable, but we will have to see. Of course, the more frequent updates will be on my social medias and in my Discord, so please follow those if you want to be more up to date. Now, that's it for this video. We will see each other soon. Now, fuck.
We are off!